Okay, well, we are doing lesson number 1 for poetry. So it's our kind of next big writing unit. And this is going to be poetry lesson number 1. It's poetry lesson 1, poetry introduction. Now remember, whenever you see my screen is much different than yours because I have everything on my screen. But just all kind of sitting here waiting to send to you. But yeah, so just know that just remember that my screen always looks a little bit different. But what you're going to do, which you already have done, is open Poetry Lesson 1, Poetry Introduction. Now remember, whenever you open yours, you're going to see you have 2 parts, part 1, part 2. Except mine only has part 2 because right now I am making part 1. Because your part 1 says, open this video and watch. So the purpose of the video is just to give you some more instruction, explain some things, what you're going to be doing today. Part 2, you can open right now, is a big slide deck. Now there are a ton of slides. You can see 1 of 79. I am not going to be doing all these slides. There's a lot of things that we could talk about, but you can actually go through this yourself. And look at all these things. Some things I'll go through a little bit faster than others, just kind of knowing what we're going to be doing for this whole unit. This is going to be about 2 weeks. There's 10 lessons that I have planned for this poetry writing, and it doesn't mean you can stop when we get to lesson number 10. It doesn't mean you have to stop doing poetry. You can keep on doing poetry, and I would hope that all of you would. Poetry is just another fun way of writing, but so yeah, just for this lesson today, this is a really big introduction into it. At the end of the lesson, we are going to be sharing on Seesaw some ideas, some possible poem ideas that we can use as we start writing our poems. I'm just going to give you an example. I'm going to show you an example of how you're going to do it. And again, you can just look at this slide deck, this part 2, open this to learn about poetry by yourself after you're done watching this video, or you can just watch the video and just to kind of go back and review things about poetry. But here we go. Understanding poetry. So what is poetry? In poetry, the sound and meaning of words are combined to express feelings, thoughts, and ideas. The poet chooses words carefully. Poetry is usually written in lines. You're going to hear me talking a lot about that, lines. Remember that in a poem has lines, not sentences. I mean, it's a sentence, but in a poem you actually call it a line. And you're going to hear me talk a lot about this too, about how poets really think very, very carefully about the word that they want. Constantly trying to change words to find ones that they think are going to be a better fit. And yeah, really, and you're going to see some of the poems that I wrote too, really do express the feelings and thoughts and ideas that I have. Poetry elements. Writers use many elements to create their poems. These elements include rhythm, sound, imagery, form. Now, you may see that first word that looks like the word rhyme. That's actually rhythm. So poems are fun to read by yourself, but poetry is meant to be read aloud. You are supposed to read it because when a poet reads it, they usually have like a specific rhythm to it, kind of like a song. And that's really, I guess that's really how I describe rhythm as if you were going to sing it like a song. Not quite sing it, but like it's a particular way to do it. And then sometimes it has really good sound or imagery. Imagery is creating those visuals or pictures in somebody's head. And then also form. Form is like how you structure it. And you're going to be getting to learn about a lot of different kinds of poems during this unit that look different than other ones. So rhythm. Rhythm is the flow of the beat in a poem. It gives poetry a musical feel. It can be fast or slow, depending on mood and subject of the poem. You can measure rhythm in meter by counting the beats in each line. So the next couple slides will show you examples. But when we did our big poetry unit, when we were doing author's purpose before, trying to figure out, is it entertain? Is it inform? Is it persuade? I explained that a lot of songwriters, the songs that they write actually are like a form of poetry, and they actually could be just a big long poem. So this is called the Picket Fence. So it's by David McCord. You can see here the rhythm in this poem is fast to match the speed of the stick striking the fence. So they have a like a picket fence here. You call that a picket fence, and you have a picture of a stick. Maybe you may have done this before in the past, or maybe you've seen it like in a movie or like cartoon or TV show or something. Somebody holding a stick and walking by and letting the stick hit each of those pickets, or like like the pieces of that fence. So I'm going to try to read it in that rhythm. The pickety fence, give it a lick, it's a pickety fence. Give it a lick, it's a clickety fence. Give it a lick, it's a lickety fence. Give it a lick, give it a lick, give it a lick, with a rickety stick. Pickety, 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 pick. So that's where, like, when I mean a poem is meant to be read aloud. Now I could read that in my head and it'd be fine, but it's more fun when you read it aloud. Here comes another one. So this one is called Where Are You Now? It's by Mary Britton Miller. The rhythm in this poem is slow, to match the night, gently falling and the light slowly coming on. When the night begins to fall and the sky begins to glow, you look up and see the tall city of lights begin to grow. In rows and little golden squares, the lights come out, first here, then there, behind the window panes, as though a million billion bees have built their golden hives and honeycombs above you in the air. So definitely a different kind of a mood. This is like, the pickety fence is fast and quick and kind of lighthearted and fun. And Where Are You Now? That's not it's not sad, but it's maybe more, I would say, more relaxing, even though I read it kind of more slow. I read it more slowly, so to me that's more of a relaxing, kind of like how sometimes feel at night. Start to relax a bit more. Sound. Writers love to use interesting sounds in their poems. After all, poems are meant to be heard. These sound devices include, rhyme. A lot of poems you're going to see is rhyme. Like the first couple of sets of poems I'm going to be teaching you it uses rhyme. Repetition. Repetition means repeating the same things over and over again. So like in the pickety fence, the pickety fence. That's repeating. Give it a lick, give it a lick, give it a lick. That's that repetition, repeating. Alliteration. I'm going to be teaching you all about alliteration. That's using the same letter sound at the beginning of each word. And then onomatopoeia. That's things like bang, 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 pop, sizzle. Those are words that sound like how they sound. So like pop, 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 pop. I think a lot like popcorn. The word pop sounds like popcorn popping. The next slide is rhyme. And so this goes a little bit more into what rhyme is. Rhymes are words that end with the same sound. Hat, cat, bat. Rhyming sounds don't have to be spelled the same way. Like cloud and allowed. Those rhyme. Then rhyme is the most common sound device in poetry. Poems don't have to rhyme. A lot of them do, but they don't have to. Rhyming patterns. You're going to see, I'm going to be talking about different kinds of rhyming patterns. And so you can have rhyming. It's listed a little confusing, but the next slide will show you what I mean by this. But you can have like A, B, B. So if you have a 4-line poem, 1, 2, 3, 4, line 1 and line 2 rhyme A, and then lines 3 and 4 rhyme B, B. Or you can have an A, B. So that's where lines 1 and 3 rhyme, but 2 and 4, but then 2 and 4 rhyme together. Or you could have an A, B, where 1 and 4 rhyme and 2 and 3 rhyme. Or A, B, C, where lines 2 and 4 rhyme and 1 and 3 don't rhyme at all. So this is an example of an A, B pattern. It's called For Snow by Marie Louise Allen. Snow makes whiteness where it falls. The bushes look like popcorn balls. In places where I always play, look like somewhere else today. So that's where falls and balls rhyme, and then play and today rhyme. So that's A, B. This is an A, B. Oodles of Noodles by Lucia and James L. Himes Jr. I love noodles. Give me oodles. Make a mound up to the sun. Noodles are my favorite foodles. I eat noodles by the ton. So you have A, lines 1 and 3 rhyme, oodles and foodles, and then you have 2 and 4 rhyme, sun and ton. So A, B. Or you can have A, B. This is from Bliss by Eleanor Fargion. Let me fetch sticks, let me fetch stones. Throw me your bones, teach me your tricks. So that first line and last line, so line 1 and 4 rhyme, and then the second and third rhyme, so A, B, B, A. Then A, B, C, B. This one's called The Alligator by Mary McDonald. The alligator chased his tail, which hit him in the snout. He nibbled, gobbled, and swallowed it, and turned him right inside out. So this is where line 2 and 4, snout, inside out rhyme, but then line 1 and 3, tail, it, don't rhyme at all. Repetition. Repetition occurs when poets repeat words, phrases, or lines in a poem. It creates a pattern, increases rhythm, and sometimes it can strengthen feelings, ideas, and mood. Like this one. This is a repetition example, The Sun by Sandra Liastos. Someone tossed a pancake, a buttery, buttery pancake. Someone tossed a pancake and flipped it up so high that now I see the pancake, the buttery, buttery pancake. Now I see that pancake stuck against the sky. So it's supposed to be kind of like the sun. But yeah, just that repeating of like pancake, pancake, and buttery, buttery pancake. Alliteration. Alliteration is repetition of the first sound in words. Like in the nursery rhyme, Peter, Piper, oh man, I practiced it and I'm still struggling. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Or you can see this one. The snake slithered silently along the sunny sidewalk. Here's this one. This one's called The Tooth by Lee Bennett Hopkins. I jiggled it, jaggled it, jerked it. I pushed and pulled and poked it. But as soon as I stopped and left it alone, this tooth came out on its very own. Onomatopoeia. Words that represent the actual sound of something are words of onomatopoeia. Dogs bark, cats purr, thunder booms, rain drips, and the clock ticks. Here's an example. Listen by Margaret Hillert. Scrunch, 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 crunch, crunch, crunch. Frozen snow and brittle ice make a winter sound that's nice. Underneath my stamping feet and the cars along the street. Scrunch, 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 crunch, crunch, crunch. Imagery. This is the use of words to create pictures or images in your mind. Appeals to the 5 senses: smell, sight, hearing, taste, and touch. And we're going to be getting to do some senses poems. Details about smells, sounds, colors, and tastes create strong images. To create vivid images, writers use figures of speech. Figures of speech are tools that writers use to paint pictures in your mind. Similes, metaphors, and personification are 3 figures of speech that create imagery. And I'm actually going to stop the video here. Just kind of think about the things that you've seen so far. You can go back and rewatch this part 1 just to kind of help learn some more things about poems. As you're kind of going in between videos though too, I want you to start to think about what are some possible ideas you could do for poems.